and we'll see where the priority starts to lie for both of these teams. Titans will find themselves in that first pick spot, Leviathans over in the second pick slot. And I think a lot will be revealed as far as strategy for the Titans, of course, with the Leviathans playing with the coach out of the solo lane, and then the Leviathans, how they want to respond. If we want to kind of turn back the clock, the answer for the Scarabs yesterday when they were playing with the coach out of the solo lane was, I think, Xing Chen for Slaney. They stuck him on that pick and just saw how things would go there in that lane. It's the type of thing where you don't want to harbor on the reasoning, but it is something now that you have to jump into game and you have to strategize for and against, and I think the Titans could look to maybe push some pressure in that lane.
I think they could. We don't necessarily know, do we, if it is actually Oxy going into the solo lane. We could see a couple of role substitutions. Just got it in for production. It is going to be confirmed Oxy playing out of the solo lane. So now we can just take a little bit more of a macro view towards this match. And Baba Yaga getting banned out makes a good deal of sense to me. If Shinto's the guy who is just going to get more farm, well, some stacking items likely going to feel good on him. I think it wouldn't be overly surprising if we see the Leviathans go ahead and target out that Loki with their last ban. Got to get rid of the mainstays. Must address that Tiamat early on, as it is the Titans in the first pick slot. But as you've already highlighted, both of these teams have put a good deal priority towards the God of Tricksters. And, well, Scary D, what was it, 4 out of the last 6 games plays the Loki? Leviathans, I know Oxy in particular, is keeping his eyes on these matches. Likely doesn't want to have to deal with that.
Leviathans now in a position where that's what they have to choose. It's the last ban now, and the Titans get pick of the litter and pick number 1. But then there's also a threat, depending on what the Titans have or haven't banned out, that the Leviathans get 2 very, very strong picks on their second wind here. So I bet there's a little gamesmanship going on with the Leviathans now as well, where ban something like the Athena, so Loki's still available, Gilgamesh is still around. A lot of those top priority picks still absolutely in that conversation. Baba Yaga was sort of interesting, but that's something we talked about on the Hot or Not segment on the SPL waiting room, and how Shinto looked pretty good on that pick, so it's something maybe we should get used to seeing a little bit further. But Raijin is what Shinto has played in the last 3 games. Been 3 Raijin games, 3 Raijin wins, the most recent being 10-2-5 in the KDA department. So Titans doing a little bit of homework there. But Fafnir Gilgamesh for the Leviathans. Talk about a front line, talk about initiation, plenty of setup, plenty of lockdown between those two.
Absolutely wild. I was not expecting to see Raijin in that first pick slot. As you already highlighted, has great damage, good survivability, has a phenomenal early game as well. But when there are gods like Fafnir out there that can change how your composition plays, change how you have to address the match because of the threat he has towards these neutral objectives, you'd think that maybe we'd see some priority there. Gilgamesh has been in that top ban slot for, going on 3-4 weeks now, and makes his way through. Leviathans, I'm sure, very happy with the top 2 selection here. Titans, though, have the opportunity to select back a couple of key picks themselves. King Arthur's still out there. Could see a little bit more of those Guardians on the solo lane. Loki's been available as well. Fenrir been highly prioritized and has great flex potential. Could go into the jungle, could go into solo, could even head over into that support role. Keep some guessing by locking in this Artemis, but this will give the Leviathans the opportunity to, again, target Scary D in the bans.
It was 85% pick ban rate for Fenrir, and a lot of those going over to the ban column. So agreed there, Mifflin, where this Fenrir is just seen big priority in picks bans. Opens up the door to some flexibility, as you've also pointed out there. Chiron locked in here for the Leviathans. Chiron was the talk of the SPL there in the Hunter role at the start of Season 8 over in Phase 1. It was all Chiron and Bluestone, and has seen less play, admittedly, over the last couple of weeks. Still seen play, but just hasn't been quite as rabid of a reception around this Chiron. Still in a position, though, Miff, in your eyes, to make an impact on this game. Something Yarkor, I think, could play pretty well.
Yeah, I think Chiron is still in a pretty good spot. But we have recently had the Scarabs and the Bolts in studio, and I had the opportunity to talk to Zapman and Barracuda both, and they had kind of expressed a little bit of what's the word? Curiosity around Yarkor's priority here. They said, well, it is a little bit interesting that the Leviathans have been still emphasizing this old school style of Hunter. Crazy to call it old school. It's only been a couple of weeks now, but Chiron has largely gone by the wayside by the majority of these teams. Leviathan seems to be one of the few holdouts still saying, no, guys, it's still good. He's still got death immunity. He's still got one of the best level 2s inside of the Hunter role, and well, I think they're still right about that, but maybe doesn't really utilize the builds that we've seen from Hunters as well as Artemis or any of these attack speed sim gods. You're not generally going to be looking at the quadruple bow build with the Chiron. As you've already highlighted, it's going to be Bluestone, Transcendence. It's all about stacking up that power
Yep.
and using your abilities almost like a mage.
Wow, triple front line, depending on how Gilgamesh builds, is what it looks like here for the Leviathans. This has been a play style that's been on the rise here as of late. Couple of Guardians, someone tankier in the jungle, usually a warrior, and that ends up feeling pretty good. There are a couple of teams in the SPL that have really forged that type of play style into some success. I almost got the picks bans flipped there because it was a Merlin ban against Shinto, so that's no surprise, but then a Hell ban. But Woe is right here, Miff. When Loki falls all the way down to, what is that, 8th pick here, and then if Amana is going to be the 9th pick for the Tartarus Titans, interesting priority here, but looks like it could be a pretty decent draft.
In a sense, but at the same time, Terra does introduce a lot of really consistent team fighting action, and I think that for Oxy here, he just wanted to go for something that isn't necessarily going to lose you lane pressure outright and can still, for the most part, go toe-to-toe, I think, with the Vamana clear.
Yeah. Well, at the start of this, let's just see how this plays out, because looking at those compositions that Leviathans have put together here, very tanky, bruisery front line, I want to say, with Yorkor really in the back. It almost is a 4-stack of tanks when you look at how Jean-Qui's played. I know there's a lot of talk about Jean-Qui in terms of his competitive nature and how useful he can be. I think the issue is, though, is that, you know, in ranked and competitive games, it's two different things.
Two different things usually, but at the same time, I think that all of this front line is going to be the perfect kind of scenario for Shinto to actually try and get the Jean-Qui rolling, because that is the primary aspect that you were looking for as a Jean-Qui. Scary actually looking to get a little aggressive early on with beneath them, and same circumstances over here in the dual lane. Rongyu and Cyclone could be in some trouble.
Yeah, Cyclone will slip the news for now, but the focus was towards Raw, who's that brutalized now. Rongyu on Yorkor doing a great job over here of just pushing back Cyclone and Aurora, who's staying up and competitive still. So much more Artemis we're seeing as of late, Taco.
A lot of Artemis thanks to that bow build preference that's been taking place into the fight.
Well, only 4 minutes in so far, or approaching, I should say. No real pressure on the map as it stands. The gold lead, though, tightens up about 400 gold as of now. Shows they're just doing a bit of a better job farming. Obviously, Oxyladion in this squad for Leviathans has kind of changed what this game could have been with Titans up against Leviathans. I think it was very even. If anything, it's been Leviathans that have had a lead for a while now, undefeated so far in Phase 2. But a real chance for Titans to win this one today, even more so. And it'll be tricky if they don't, if I'm honest.
Tower dive looking to be the first blood opportunity here. Benji going to tank it up for the time being, and it'll be Scary D with the first blood, but the tower tank toggle did not effectively work out. Scary actually going to take the tower aggro, so Oxyladion will at least get a response when they last try to have an ANU on that Jean-Qui. So now Shinto trying to be the first to make history here for the SPL mid laners in Season 8.
At least for Season 8, yeah, I was going to say, I mean, the other aspect of this from my angle is like they trust in Jean-Qui even when they're having to use a substitute today too. So it shows that they really do have value.
That's what influenced them to take it.
Really?
They needed the big guns.
They needed another big frontline boy in Jongadonga. Well, Scary, he gets a solo kill on the right-hand side, or should I say a duo Q just caught off camera there. Jit is a bit rookie, you know, he's got to catch up a little bit, but we should have noticed it too. But Oxy caught again under his tier 1 tower, and all the while there was nothing really Leviathans could do on this left hand side of the map.
But I love that invade from the Leviathans, and Aurora actually going to eat a drop kick into the wall. Ragnarok just to try and peel himself away to safety, wins a Shamash, but it's not enough. Rongyu toying with the idea, I think, of the die, but recognizing that Paul being in between the T1 and T2 towers also, it's going to force him back. Recognition from both of these teams in terms of where their attention should be focused right now.
So 3,000 gold lead for Titans as a hammer connects from Rongyu. He just tried to pressure onto Cyclone in that duo lane for the time being, but didn't really find anything. But Benji is now rotated from solo lane, looking towards Shinto, who finds a good stun to slow down Benji for a moment. Rongyu on the front side now. Yorkor just picking up his purple buff. As you can see, Titan starting to play around this man advantage on the left-hand side of the map, looking to strip away some jungle. Bad news is, though, Taco, there's nothing really up for them to get.
Nothing really up for them to get, but Benji being able to at least drive home the message that he's here now, a little bit more towards Shinto in terms of objective security, just because Taiko drums can take a little bit more channel time in comparison to just the Book of Demons or even the Exorcism outright.
Nice trap after that from Cyclone. Spin with the ball, follow the ball, did connect onto Yorkor to stop him pressuring too. Now Aurora's going to look for the Ragnarok. Rongyu forced to ultimate defensively to avoid that. And pressure relieved on this left-hand side, but Cyclone did use his ultimate there in trade for Rongyu, so Chiron with a small advantage for the moment, as in the jungle. Scary and pat it on me.
And that's actually going to be a force of the assassinate there from beneath them. That could make a possibility for the Leviathans to now look towards this Gold Fury, even without the Fafnir having that Draconic form. Coerce still effective enough, but it's going to be actually hardcore on the chase. Giddy up, not going to be able to knock Cyclone back just yet.
Good dive in from Yorko, still taking the tower for his team to allow his damage dealers in melee range to get on in and find the kill. Paniton credited with that. And that really was Leviathans, like you said, finding pressure on Scary D on this left-hand side, created a potential Gold Fury that turned into a gank instead. Leviathans get themselves on the board.
Wherever cleanup factors.
It definitely turns into one of these games, though, as we approach 19 minutes and only 3 kills in it. No Gold Furies down or Fire Giant attempts. A Pyromancer, though, is being looked at by Titans on the right-hand side. And Taco, I think that's a really good call from them. Play around where you've got the lead at the moment. You're not going to see Oxy really over that right-hand side or support from Panitom. So why not exploit it further by taking that Pyro and finding yourself some global gold?
This almost feels too slow for the Titans, at least. I would imagine that they should really be the ones establishing their presence, but it seems as though they're still giving up a decent chunk of this map pressure in favor of the Leviathans. And I say map pressure, but what I really mean is it's just stalemates.
Stalemates.
They don't feel comfortable trying to be the ones taking the primary initiative. It's almost like they're trying to wait for the Leviathans to mess things up themselves, but I think, if anything, that could actually work against the Tartarus Titans here, because when you're dealing with a team that is a sub in such a crucial position, you need to be the ones showing that if there's a sub in play, it shouldn't even be close when it comes to the team fight, because it's going to throw all sorts of metrics off here for the Leviathans. I mean, granted, he's got a general idea of how the Leviathans like to play, being the coach, but at the same time, it's not the same sort of synergy that you would expect from the full 5-man roster.
Completely agree, but I think from Titans' point of view here, Taco, trickier game for them because they should win this now. And like that's pressure in itself to know that you're expected to win a game or be focused down. Cyclone forced to Aegis and beads away. Tusky also dropped. Paniton pulled under the tower by Aurora, but the rest of Titans haven't rotated in yet. Oxy now on the scene as well as the tier 1 tower falls on the left-hand side. Leviathans find a good little engagement on left and start to try and use this man advantage to look towards the Gold Fury.
So far, 3 ultimates have been expended, but Shinto still has that Recall Demons in case the Tartarus Titans feeling frisky. Benji might be the first one into the mix, and it's going to be Paul starting off the fight.
Good ult from Paul, but he will escape with a Thunder Crash too. Beautiful play from him, but Benji down to threat. Curse Dog activated onto him, but they won't have the chase potential available. Wrong UD transforms. Leviathans fall back to the Fury, but look at Scary D just wrapping around the back potentially to make a re-engagement. Has his ultimate available, but Gold Fury's dropping slowly here.
And it's going to be all about beneath them trying to find that dropkick into the wall for Benji. Understand that big baby transformation no longer available. Scary D going to walk right through the entirety of the Leviathans, but still no blood spilled either direction. If anything, this is almost the Tartarus Titans kind of lucking out here with some slightly missed cooldowns by the Leviathans. Cyclone Spin barely gets out. Paul barely gets out. So it seems as though the Leviathans no longer want to be the ones pulling this Gold Fury.
But a lot of ultimates down on both teams here. Gold Fury now being unleashed by Titans. Reset again as the dance of the Fury begins. And with, as we were saying, how long this game's gone so far with very little kills, it is going to be a real balancing act here. If one team fight could really blow the game wide open in either direction right now. And it's Leviathans with a ton of sustain that could come into play here, with Terror over here along with the rest of the squad, and also that Curse Dog being used momentarily ago by Aurora. This is an opportunity. Gold Fury getting low, pulled into the corner. Aurora leaps on in towards Oxy. Panitom's on away Cyclone and Paul at the same time. Gold Fury is reset as Cyclone does take down Panitom, but Benji got hold of Yorko at the back, and that's the issue with the big baby on the back line alongside Aurora. Now looking towards Oxy, who's going to be in trouble too. Shinto was left exposed with Scary D, and one team fight later, 4 members of Leviathans are dead, and the Titans take the Gold Fury.
Patience is a virtue for a reason, I suppose, and Tartarus Titans recognize that their best fight is before all of the ultimates had actually come back into play there, for finding themselves 4 members down. And Drongyu, while he managed to survive, not sure how much a lone Fafnir can really do in terms of preventing this Fire Giant from going the way of the Titans.
And that's just rough too. You lose 4 members in the Gold Fury fight, you lose the Gold Fury. Titans can respawn, go to the FG, but maybe Drongyu can make a hero play. Not this time round though, as he's forced to leap away from Benji and Paul giving chase. FG to the Titans, who can now start to take more of a lead with some of these towers soon to fall.
Maybe getting a little bit too ambitious, I think, with popping that belt, or the girdle, excuse me, hold my thought, the speed dump, he's just caught.
Loses the 1v1 there. I know Aurora was around, but that wasn't really an impact at all. Interesting trade out between the two, and that was Paddington being 2 levels down at the moment. You can start to see the power the Titans have. They're also taking on an FG team, so the extra damage will come into play, and the sustain too. As a tier 1 now falls on the left-hand side. Titans looking to pressure some more though. Benji off in mid lane, Split pushing his way. Soon to be joined by Paul in either direction, who's splitting the difference in the jungle here. And it's up to Leviathans on base defense to see what they can do. All relics are still coming back up for some members. Aegis down on Paul. Couple sets of beads though, and Leviathans are down. And that should be something Titans recognize. Hammer hits from Rongyou onto Aurora. As now the Titans step into the throne room and take out Oxy, who can't do much against that.
Beautiful space creation from Aurora there on that left side Phoenix, and it's the best Phoenix for the Tartarus Titans to take out first, but 2 members dead for 40 seconds into means that these T2 towers don't really stand much of a chance. Typically you might see teams looking for a little bit of a poke opportunity, but that won't be the case here for the Leviathans. It's just in their best interest to stand back, let that 1,500 gold go the way of the Tartarus Titans, and hope that Rongyou and Auxiliadon are actually alive in time to try and hold off on this mid Phoenix, but it seems as though they might just lose 2 birds here.
And already Titans onto this middle Phoenix before the members of Leviathans can even get there to defend. Obviously it's mainly the back line alive, not the front line, which makes it very tricky there for them to try and handle the front line and back line pressure the Titans would exhume there. So with that, 2 Phoenixes now down, Titans head into the jungle to just strip away some buffs. And it's all going to be on Leviathans trying to defend the right-hand side or maybe next FG. But realistically, I mean, the FG is up for another minute or 2 still.
And right now, it obviously looks great for the Tartarus Titans.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. They did a fantastic job as far as the siege.
Although the one thing Titans need to work on, it's about synergy and working as a team. So even if it's slow going for them to find the wins, a W's a W at the end of the day. So trying to find that here as now Leviathans try and group up and around the right-hand side. Rongyou forced to ult away. Benji versus Shinto on the left-hand side is going as Rongyu's taken into the sky on that dragon. Thanks to Ragnarok from Aurora. Panitom now using the Winds of Shamash to slow them down. But he gets collapsed on by Paul at the same time as Scaredy gets hold of Shinto. Yorkcore does at least take down Scaredy for the shutdown. All the while, though, minions are flooding into the Titan room from the side of Titans here to try and keep the pressure on Leviathans. And this one could be the writing on the wall here, as now all the members of Titans, minus Scaredy, start to mosey on down mid to join that fire minion wave on the Titan.
But even with Rongyou and Hardcore getting these backs off, the Titan HP just simply too low for the Leviathan's backline and glass standing frontline member to really deal with.
Somehow gets through both phases of bans, goes towards his signature pick inside of this Loki, 6, 2, and 4. Ooh, maybe ban that next time, Leviathans.
Yeah, Scary D will gladly take that if it falls down to 8th or 9th pick or whatever it was there for the Titans. Benji, good performance on the Vamana there. My tongue here a little bit, and let's see if some of these P's and B's can get us back on the right track. Leviathan's over in the first pick slot here this time. I think after the performance Scary D has on the Loki there in Game 1, it's got to be something the Leviathans consider here, either in their first 3 bans or what could be a top pick, because Scary D, when given that space, yeah, he died a couple times. He was the only 2 deaths on the Titans, but he was the driving force in the kills department.
There's just so many meta picks here in Smite that it feels a little bit bad to go towards that Loki in the first slot, because what are you leaving open in exchange? Very likely something like Yamoja gets through, or maybe even the Gilgamesh or something along those lines. So I think that this is the right adaptation from the Leviathan. Sure, Panatom is capable, obviously, of playing the Loki at a very high level, but not necessarily the god that we closely associate with him. And instead, I think better suited, get him on something a little bit more comfortable and ban it out. Make sure Scary D has to go a little bit deeper into his god pool.
I think that's smart there. Osiris taking away Loki as well. On the other side, Titans seem to be sticking just to the tier list at the moment. Tiamat off the board. Yamoja follows there as well. Yamoja's been sort of in an interesting spot, though. 50% is what you see there in the SPL ban rate. But when Rongyu's on the other team, I think that increases there a little bit. Half the time banned out against the Leviathan specifically. Fenrir gets taken off the board as well. So a couple of the pieces that worked for the Titans in Game 1 now go by the wayside. And then I think a smart ban from the Titans as well. That's something Shinto's played on the Raijin and looked good on as well. So I think across the board, all 6, you could probably make an argument for it. All makes some sense.
Yeah, that leaves a lot of meta picks available. I mean, Gilgamesh still out there. Athena has been having a slight resurgence. King Arthur. I mean, just about everything. There's a lot of targeted bans in this first phase. And the Leviathans go towards that Artemis in their first pick selection. A very easy to shut down god if you're able to itemize or draft around it. Things like Walls really puts the kibosh to this god. Ymir available still and is one of Wrong U's favorite. Could see the Titans try and strip that one away. But instead, Baba Yaga, that stacking item works out a lot. I mean, Warlock Staff, great stat stick, has a ton of power, ton of HP, survivability. Doesn't have to be the Warlock Staff, could even go towards the Book of Thoth, the Karen's Coin, all things that Baba Yaga utilizes very well. I think there's going to be a high damage output game for him, and I think Baba Yaga is a mainstay here, as long as there's no boots in the world.
Yeah, it's not something we've seen Paul play in the last 6 games, but I think for whatever reason, if I hear Baba Yaga, I'm thinking Hurry Wind as of late. I think Paul probably looks pretty good on this pick as well. Definitely a pick we've at least seen him on a couple of times in the past, and has looked good. Then itemization, I think, important, and it's good you bring that up there, Mifflin, where Baba Yaga's in a spot now where you can get online a little bit earlier and be feeling a little bit better. Hachiman follows that up, as well as a Sobek and a Discordia over on the other side. Discordia for Shinto provides a little bit of lockdown, a little bit of control. If the Leviathans are looking to delete a target, well, Discordia in the mid lane will help you out.
It will. That passive so strong early on. This Sobek has flex potential, could go into support, and has good synergy with Artemis. Pluck and a trap, always going to be a good combo, but there is that flex potential of it going into the soul lane, so the Tartarus Titan's going to have to be a little bit cognizant of that fact, and it seems like they are willing to put the bet that it is this Sobek going towards solo. Fafnir banned out in this second phase indicates that they're still targeting supports.
Yeah, Fafnir, a very strong pick for Rongyu as well. Sobek, I have no data, because Gore's gone, to reference this off of.
God,
I feel like Sobek, I know. He'll be back, don't worry. He's gone for this weekend. Sobek, I feel like we've seen out of the solo lane more than we have in support here as of late. That just feels like the way the meta's been shifting. Toss a Vampiric Shroud on the Sobek, and things feeling good over there in the solo lane. Again, I have no actual data. That's just sort of what things feel like over there in the solo lane. Ban still heading on towards Scary D here, and if you consider the Fenrir a jungle ban, Scary D takes 3 so far up against the Leviathans. I think Odin worth looking at here, Mifflin. A strong pick, provides some lockdown, especially with the Baba Yaga on the other side. You can kind of circle all that damage in on specific targets for the Leviathans, and so could be the forming of a strong team fight.
It is. The Odin also just great into both Artemis and Sobek, both gods that are going to probably have to pick up a Phantom if they want to deal with this cage early on. This Odin, again, has flex potential. Could go into the jungle, more likely going to head over into the soul lane. When we do see Odin inside the solo, generally it's blink in that first relic slot and very early rotations towards the center of the map. You want to utilize that cage before that second relic slot becomes available to the Leviathans, because that's generally where you start to see that Phantom get picked up.
Vamana again. All right, so this is interesting now, Miff, where
They just like it.
Vamana was solo for the Titans in Game 1. Vamana again for the Titans in Game 2, but there's already an Odin locked in. If we're going to assume that it's Odin that ends up flexing, or maybe it's not, I guess maybe I'll pass that off to you. If you're looking at maybe a jungle pick for either of these two, we'll wait and see what the Titans draft 5th. Could either of those two flex into the jungle and find success?
Odin could go into the jungle. It's something that we've seen in the past. Back in Season 4, he was getting played in the jungle a lot. He has great gank potential, and since the rework, likely has even better gank potential now. The cage, even if you leap out of it, you take some damage, has a ranged stun, good damage and burst off the bird bomb as well. Vamana has seen some jungle as well, but I'm not as huge a proponent of that pick. Horus locked in here, though, for the Leviathans. I think that is a huge adaptation from them. We got Rongyu going towards one of his favorite picks, which almost guarantees that it is going to be Sobek heading over towards solo, to speak to your anecdotal point that we do see him over there more often than not.
Another one for Dave.
Erlang Shen in the jungle. This is a very frontline-centric draft here from the Leviathans.
Also a Game 3 because it's a hyper carry, a classic hyper carry, and I think that it's something that the Leviathans were definitely missing in Game 1.
That's fair, and I will say, looking at the builds real quick coming through, Rongyu started off with the Phantom this game too, so recognizing Odin's going to be around the left and middle of the map more often this game means that we do see this early Phantom pickup. I think if we saw an Odin in the solo, you may see that at the secondary relic slot potentially, but the realization is there as Shinto will hit level 2 in mid lane a little bit quicker than that of Paul here, giving some pressure to Leviathans early on these Ryan Harpies.
just some smart adjustments all around for the Leviathans. Even having Sobek in that solo lane now, arguably a lot more survivability in that pick could make things a little bit more problematic in terms of whether or not Scary D is trying to focus on the aggression there, but so far it seems as though Leviathan's duo lane's going to find themselves with a slight edge. A successful invade. Cyclone spin though, no problem with the Aijutsu out of there into safety. However, Hardcore still trying to just make sure that he's not overstepping his boundaries. You guys are going to have to obviously throw Ro in there at some point. Same thing for you, Cherry. I'm sure he's been itching.
There's plenty. Tartarus too. I want to see how that one works out. Meanwhile, left-hand side here, Raw has hit level 5 alongside Cyclone Spin. You can see Titans have got a bit of advantage in that lane. Those ultimates being available now puts a bit more pressure onto Leviathans to be very careful here. Yorko will get his ultimate, but take into account this Artemis isn't great into the Odin, mainly because of the fact you will be trapped in that circle. Panitum, though, rotating to this left-hand side, only level 4. Flank attack attempted here as Rongu got aggressive. Rongu keeping himself out of position intentionally as the burden connects from Aurora onto Panitum, but Panitum won't get enough damage off there to secure Aurora, who just drops the ring to force the disengage. On this solo lane side, the net worth between Benji versus Oxy at the moment, you can see the difference is 1,400 gold. Scary in the jungle, though, picked apart and deleted before Aurora could even get involved. That trap CC combo with a pin, very painful.
Scary just getting absolutely punished. There's a lot for Artemis's damage output just off the kill that they were able to find.
Well, Leviathan still with a bit of a power play on this left-hand side. Stun onto Aurora, into a trap, into the knock-up. Goodbye, Aurora! You were deleted! Cyclone can only really watch on. No ultimate available. Beads is up, but what's he really going to do to defend it over by that combo? And that is a disgusting combo. Artemis, Horus, and that was played inch perfect.
Any sort of stun lock opportunity is going to be the ultimate setup imaginable, but that's not to say that Paul isn't looking to try and strike a little bit of presence of his own. Home sweet home, dealing some good damage for the start. Beneath them's HP bar just absolutely a goner to this damage output by the Baba Yaga.
Left-hand side, though, Scary D rotating in to put pressure on Yorko and Rongu, who are trying to zone Cyclone away from this minion wave coming in. Aurora coming back from spawn 2, forced to tank the tower there, as Shinto in mid lane hung around for Benji to find the kill there on the rotation. Cyclone, meanwhile, on this left-hand side is going to end up falling down. Yorko and Rongu dived a tier 1 tower there, and they're both still alive. Great taunt from Panitum to buy Yorko some time. He's still on the run. Aurora's cooldown should be up soon. The juggle's good, but the bomb is there. Aurora still can't find the kill. Needs one more hit, and Scary will blink on him for the kill. And now it's Panitum versus 2. Scary's out of mana here, but the minion wave comes into play, and Paul's rotation from mid with Shinto dying there goes in Titan's favor. And now they're in the power seat. To the moment, Benji's already arrived.
And it seems as though Leviathan's going to have to make the better call to just try and acquire some of that farm to leverage out this difference as Rongu forced to retreat.
But Benji blinks and goes in on Shinto, and Shinto forced to jump away. Apple comes out, ricochets off the wall, didn't even find a target there, as Benji's beat down's enough to pressure Leviathans all the way back to the back green buff. And Titans go towards the Fury. Pull has initiated now. Looks like they're going to start to burst this one down. Sobek on the right-hand side still. This will be a 4v5. And it looks like Leviathans have just given up on contesting that Gold Fury as Titans extend their lead to 4,000.
Sometimes you just have to pick your poison, and in this circumstance, the Leviathans understand no one's going to be brawling with a level 16 Vamana, much less one that has Stone Cutting, Void Shield yet again. Such an aggressive, impactful build here for Benji, and he's not done with Shinto just yet. Shinto actually going to lose his Purification Beads and the Erlong taunt to boot. Benji with the 2-for-1 special. Drongyu's ultimate expended as well, and Aurora still deep on the chase.
All getting Shinto at a danger as the blue buff drops down. Oxy can't really do too much here as Benji still chasing in. Level 16 on this Vamana, and the Odin cage drops down. The Phantom used. Still won't keep Panitum alive, though. He used his ultimate defensively earlier to get Shinto out of danger. Great play from Titans on the right-hand side to keep the pressure rolling, though. Yorko on the left, going to try and continue to pressure and get that tier 1 tower. But Cyclone rotated to mid here and should be able to bring down. The problem is, I think the solo talent pool of the SPL is so potent at the moment. it's very tricky for you to really leave a window like this, because now Benji's got a 4-level. These are level 12s fighting at level 17. It's taken the whole goon squad to try and bring him down, and the big baby form will get him away, even with that cursed Ankh here. A lot invested in the chase still on though from Leviathans, now looking for the rest of the team. Scary D could be the target. Panitom looking at Cyclone. Cyclone will ult away. Now Scary D isolated, pinned in place, uses his beats and the double dash. Round the back though, Aurora's looming, but so you can see as Artem is starting to rotate in here. Odin ring drop down and Phantom used there to disengage Leviathans for now. Scary double dashes away, Panitom low, and in comes Paul.
Home sweet home's gonna take down another one, as Hardcore might have been left into the abyss here. Wild Hunt's gonna come out, but Tusky's not buying him enough time. The collapse is still coming through from Aurora. Benji now back full HP. We're ready to sprawl it out. And 4 members still alive from the Leviathans, but not sure that Tartarus Titans feel it's in their best interest to keep this engagement going. However, Hindu, have to point out, Xilidon's still here, and this left-hand side still seems as though Leviathans want more, but they just don't have a way to threaten.
I just don't know what we're after, though, is the real question. I saw the chase onto Titans. It was Benji that got aggressive.
They did force a lot of relics.
Agreed.
Cooldowns onto Benji, but at the same time, how else are you really meant to kill him?
Completely agree. A lot invested there. Is now Shinto looked at in mid lane. Will dash away, stay inside the ghost as long as he can. But the ring drop down keeps him pinned in. The apple was connecting there onto Aurora. Didn't slow down the squad at all. Panitom level 13 in the jungle. Having a rough old time there up against Cyclone and Scary D, who's 18. But Yorko trying to punish Cyclone for his overextension here. Body blocks from Scary D came into play to keep Cyclone alive. And a killing spree now initiated. 4 members again dead of Leviathans. And Titans start running it down towards the mid lane. Fire Giant could be the option here. After that wave is cleared at the tier 2, it looks exactly where Titans are headed.
Benji's got more than enough left in the tank in order to play zone duty here for the lone standing Croc, and Noxiliodon, while he might have an idea of trying to get in with that lurking in the waters, it just doesn't really seem feasible.
I'd have done it.
For a level 15 Sobek.
I'd have done it. What's the worst that could happen?
He dies, and then it's staggered respawn timers, and then the Tartarus Titans siege all the T2s for even more free than what it would have been.
Lurking in the waters, sprint on in, hope for the best, make a meme out of it if you win. If you don't win,
wrecking ball mentality, there is still a chance. It's just a little bit more slim.
Blink from Benji in mid, just all in Yorko, and who's going to stop the big baby? Well, the body blocks Will from Panitom there, who's doing a good job of trying to protect his backline, but it's coming at the cost of his life every time so far. That's now 1 and 5 for him as Shinto gets all in by the 3 man of Titans who rotate in too quick. Oxy and Rongyu arrive on the scene. Not a whole lot they can do against this frontline army that's in, and Paul bringing out the house to make sure they know the pressure's still on. All the while, Titans abusing the map pressure they've found. Tier 2 tower on the left-hand side is taken down by Cyclone Spin alongside his teammate in Scary D, and they've already taken down a Phoenix as well. Middle Tier 2 is now the next on the cards unless Titans want to farm some kills.
Unfortunately for the Leviathans, it seems as though that first place in the standings is all but a goner now. Olympus Bolts probably watching this one back at home, a little bit excited, given the fact that Tartarus Titans are now looking to wrap this one up nice and sweet here.
Bit of a weird script though, right? That Bolts get 2 lucky draws and 2 coaches having to play, and that puts them in first spot. Who wrote that script? That's the solo lane, and that's really just allowed you to see how much of a difference having 2 different solo laners can be, and the competitive nature of solo lane this year in SPL is just too much. As Scary whittles down the health bar of Panitom, and by whittle I mean just annihilates it in seconds. Yorko and Rongyu are just trying to get farm on the left hand side, and Benji's like, guess what, boys? I'm the big baby, and no one's going to stop me in this form. The rest of the team is just focusing on Phoenixes. This one's pretty much done.
I hope you saw that, by the way. 370 and auto here for Benji now with the acquirement of that animosity and the Toxic Blade acquisition as well. Meanwhile, the rest of the Tartarus Titans, they're going to be 4-man grouped. Just looking to take out the Titan.
I just want to make sure Oxy lives now. I don't want him to get a death at the end of the game. In we go, Titans into the throne room here. We expected Game 2 to go a bit quicker from Titans' point of view, and it really did as they grabbed the bull by the horns in this one and take out Leviathans in 2 straight games. No disrespect.
But eventually, as you said, it did catch up to them. Despite Oxy not really dying for the first 10, 12 minutes of this game, eventually Benji just passively pulled ahead as he is the superior soul laner. I'm not gonna
No, I
mince
don't-
words about it.
I don't think you're going out on
No,
too far.
look, man, you never know. All right, there's
You're
gonna
right.
be people out there like, I can't believe he said that about Oxy, but Benji is better at soul lane than Oxy, and then naturally pulled ahead a couple of levels,
Yep.
and then that started to slowly bleed its way into the rest of the game. A couple of engagements that started to look good for the Leviathans in the long lane had Benji rotating into mid, killing Shinto, and then rotating back over to the long.
Gale's quick weekend so far, Friday and Saturday. All 2-0s across the board. Camelot Kings started off with a 2-0. Olympus Bolts, Jade Dragons, and the Tartarus Titans able to do the same. So you look forward to tomorrow. Titans back in action. They'll have the Valkyries. I asked Paul if he thought that was a matchup where they can get some momentum going. He seemed to think so. Jade Dragons and the Olympus Bolts, though, standings-wise, there's some implications at foot here because Olympus Bolts, well, if they haven't lost yet, and the Jade Dragons are starting to build up after an 0-2 start, that's got to be the headliner set of the weekend. Could make waves in the standings.
Man, I'm really excited for that one. I think all the fans at home are excited for the Olympus Bolts up against the Jade Dragons. Worth noting, the Olympus Bolts recently bopped the Dragon Slayers. That's the Solar Scarabs. Solar Scarabs, I got a
Right.
chance to talk to Lairs. He said that's the only team they're capable of beating is the Jade Dragons. And
It's not
well,
a bad team to beat.
yeah, if you got to beat one of them, right, might as well be the playoff champions.
Yeah, why not? Olympus Bolts still 4-0. They're going to go up against the 2-2 Jade Dragons to round out the weekend. Tartarus Titans also 2-2. Valhalla Valkyries still looking for their first win.